Hello and welcome to this demo video. Before we get started, I'd just like to explain to you a few things which will relate to all of the basic range spreadsheets. Number one, there is a key on the intro and setup tab of all of the spreadsheets showing what the different color headers mean. The blue headers mean that the cell's formulated, so it's locked and you can't change it. The yellow headers are where you can input data, and occasionally there might be some gray headers, which is just a different kind of data input, but we'll include instructions as and when that happens. The other thing that you can be aware of is there are ways in which you can damage the spreadsheet. So please do take a look at the link where you see this image, which will take you to a web page to show you how to better preserve your spreadsheet. Please feel free to keep a blank version of the spreadsheet somewhere, so that if you do mess up a spreadsheet that you're using, you can in fact just open a new one, a blank one. And some of the spreadsheets only last for a year, and then you've got a blank one to start the following year. So do keep a blank copy as a backup somewhere. And lastly, wherever you see this image, you can click on it. It'll take you back to the store where you purchased this product to see if you've got anything, any more products. One last thing, to see a demo video, you can click on this on a link that looks like this in order to go to the demo video, but that'll take you to the most recent demo. If in fact we've done upgrades and you're using an older version and you'd like to see the demo relating to your version, then do click on the watch on YouTube link, which will take you to that specific video on YouTube. So I think that's all you need to know. So without further ado, let's move on to this demo video. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this demo for the cold calling log and report. What is this? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Someone that I know, a contact on LinkedIn, has been posting about tips on cold calling and how to do it properly and pitfalls to avoid and that kind of thing. And he's inspired me to make this. He hasn't quite inspired me yet to actually do cold calling. I'm not quite sure what it is, probably just a fear that I have, but nonetheless, I've made the spreadsheet to help those of you who do. So how does it work? Here you've got different results, i.e. different responses that people could potentially give you. And you need to list 10 of them. You can put in whatever you want. My advice is to have the green ones near the top, have those as positive results, and then as you go down, have them as more negative results. Now, that's the answer they're giving or the response. You don't have a lot of space to play with, so you want to try and keep it as short as possible. As you can see, I've kind of categorized the different responses. And then what you do here is you either tick it if it's a success, or leave it blank or put in a cross if it's not a success. So you can just select there and select the one that you want. What I mean by success is it a sale? You may have 3 or 4 responses that actually end in a sale, which are positive responses that you want to view as a success. And you may get some positive feedback that isn't actually a sale that you want to mark as negative. So for example, call again might be a positive response, or likely maybe a positive response, but it's not actually deemed a success, as in a successful sale or that kind of thing. So you need to decide. This is completely up to you what you put here, but you can put in the results and then you can tick off those that are a success and those that would be deemed as not necessarily a failure, but not as a sale or a success. You'll see why when we get to the graphs, and then you can that will help you to decide what to put into those columns. Starting day, this is really just which day of the week does your week start on, because this spreadsheet breaks the results down into weeks. So you can decide which day of the week it starts on. You can put the caller's name there, whoever it is that's calling people, you can put in there. And then the default sale amount. What the spreadsheet does is it keeps track of sales, or even potential kind of lost sales, as in how many people have you called that weren't interested and what was the value of those particular calls. So if you do have a default sale, put it in there. If you've got just an idea of an average kind of sale, put it in there. If you're selling particular items that are at certain costs, then obviously try and keep that as accurate as possible. It's not the end of the world if it's not, but it does make the spreadsheet a little bit easier to use if you put that in, because you don't necessarily have to put in an estimate each time. So that's just an estimate of the default kind of sale value. Again, you'll see why in a minute. Once you've done that, you've set up your spreadsheet, then all you've got to do is do your call log. Now your call log's pretty straightforward. You can keep a list of the business names you need to phone, the contact people you need to phone, and then their numbers. That's just the contact details. Now remember, if you're copying from an external source into here, you use paste values, not normal paste when you're pasting the data in. But you can basically collect yourself a list of people you want to phone. And as you can see, you've got first contact, second contact, third contact. Now, first contact's got nothing to do with aliens. What that is, that's the first time you actually contact the person. Maybe they say, please call back again, or whatever the reason that they give. If you call them a second time, you put the call for the second time in here. And if you need to call them a third time, you put the call for the third time in there. If you call them a fourth time, well, then you're on your own. This only accommodates for 3. So what all you do is, once you got your list, you just put in the date when you call the person, the time when you call the person, and then just select the result. So the result is from your list of possible results. So you can go, well, yeah, it was that, it was this. If you've got a value, so if you know what the value is, and you have a value that you want to enter, so in other words, if they make a purchase and you know exactly what the purchase price is, put the value in there. If they're likely to make a sale, then you know what they're likely to buy, for example, put it in there. If you leave it blank, it'll take your default value that you put in on the intro and setup tab. But if you've got a value, put a value in there. So then you continue the first time, second time, and third time. When it becomes a success, you'll see that it'll be ticked. If none of the calls are success, it'll show the cross. So you can immediately see when you've had a successful call and what calls aren't successful, regardless of the results. So now you've got your results, everything captured here, and you can just keep doing that. If I remember correctly, I think I left 5,000 rows here, which is quite a lot. So you can make a good few calls with that. And as you make those calls and update this, your graph will automatically update your graphs. It shows over a 10-week period. You can select the final week of the report. So by default, it'll take the current week, it'll take your current situation and show you, so it'll show you the last 10 weeks. If you've got a lot of data in and you want to look back maybe 10 weeks, just put in any date of the week that you want to be the final week of your report, and it'll adjust the reports accordingly. So you can override that, but you can put that in there. But if you leave it blank, as I said, it'll show you the dates that you're using at the top. Here you can see your success value per week. So what was the value of the success? That's why it's a good idea to put the values in, or at least the default sales value, so you can see the value of your success. You can see your success rate percentage for each of the days. So which day am I getting? Which day is the percentage higher? So you can see what percentages of success you're getting each day, because it may just be that actually calling on a Friday is more beneficial, or calling on a Monday is more beneficial. So in order to see that, you'll be able to see what's going on the days, success rate per day of the week. When you get down, we go down to here, success rate per hour of the day. You can also see which hours you're having more success. And that may be helpful, because maybe evenings are better, maybe mornings are better. If there are trends like that, that should help you to spot it. You can also see per day of the week, the results per day of the week. So you can see a breakdown of the different results, because you might get more call me backs on a Friday because people are interested, and then you might get more sales on a Monday or whatever. So you can really see a nice breakdown. This is the number of entries, not the value of the entries. Here you can see there's 2 graphs on here. So let me just explain what this is. The green one, if I remember correctly, is your success rate. So in other words, on a Monday, if I make 100 calls on a Monday and 10 of those calls are sales, then my success rate would be 10% on a Monday. Sorry, not on a Monday, a first call, on a second call, on a third call. So if the first calls I make 100 and they're 10, they would be 10% first calls. If the second calls, if I make 20 second calls and 10 of them are sales, then that's a 50%. So that's based on the number of calls I'm making as a first, second, and third call. The grey columns are what percentage of sales are made on the first call, on the second call, and third. So these 3 together should always be 100%, because that's really of the successful calls, which one came on the first, which one came on the second, which one came on the third. So that's quite helpful as well as to when your client's actually buying, or they're buying early on, or do you have to call them once or twice before they do so. Here you can see your results per week based on the count. So here, based on the count, the number of count per week. So what were your results first week, second week, third week. So you can see as you go along in the weeks. Something that that this guy that I was saying was change your pitch and adapt it and roll with it. And if you actually try a new pitch one week, and you can come in and you can see I had much better results that week than I had the week before, that will help you then to determine which pitch you should be using. As you scroll down, you've got your results per week based on the value. So it's the same thing, but instead of the number of results, you've got the value, because that might change things. You may have one or two sales that are high price sales, which are obviously good. And then down at the bottom, you just got those similar things, but all in numbers. So what were possible the week? How many did you get of each of those? You can see your success, a number of successes per week. You can see the value of the success, and then you can see your total value and your value per call. So the value per call includes all the calls. So if you make 1,000, calls and you've made 10 of those, if you make 1,000 calls and you've made £1,000 over those 1,000 calls, it'll basically tell you you've made £1 per call. So that is really just the total number of calls, not necessarily the successful calls, but all of the total number of calls and what you're actually making. Because at the end of the day, if you're making 1,000 calls and making, and then you made £1,000 over those 1,000 calls, and you're making £1 a call, and the time that you've been paid to make those calls is more than £1, then really it's a wasted exercise. So you can then see whether it's worthwhile. So this is actually one of the most comprehensive reports I've got on one of the basic spreadsheets. But I think that it's all relevant, and I hope that it helps you if you are cold calling. It really gives you some insight into what's going on with your calls, rather than just calling into a bottomless pit and hoping that something will come of it. You'll actually be able to see your results and hopefully learn from them and develop your strategy so that you have a more successful time of it. So if you are someone who's cold calling and this helps you, I wish you all the best. Thank you and goodbye.